Jai Sadgurudeo. Good morning to all of you. My name is Dipti and have joined the Satsang from Glenrock, New Jersey. Before we begin this session, I would like to bow down and offer my prayers to the holy feet of Lord Sadgurudeo. Please join me by closing your eyes. Var var vandan karun Sadguru Dev Hamar यहाँ वहाँ सब ठाम में महिमा परंपार शरण शरण में शरण हूँ हे गुरु बंदी छोड़ मोहे उभारो हे गुरु यह सो बार निहोर. Welcome to Weekly English Satsang, organized by North America Institute of Vihangam Yoga. In the current times, our day-to-day life has become busy in fulfilling our physical and mental requirements and social responsibilities. In this fast-paced routine life, the requirements of the soul are often forgotten. So first of all, I congratulate each one of you for taking some time from your busy schedule to fulfill the requirements of our soul through satsang. So as we know, Vihangam Yoga is established in India, Allahabad, India, and it was established in the year of 1924. And this year, we all are going to celebrate the 100 years completion on December 17th and 18th in the same place, India. And as we know, the founder is Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, and he has written almost 35 books, but Swarved is the fundamental core and the masterpiece created by Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. And NAIVY has been trying really hard, or I would say NAIVY is giving her best to spread this knowledge across North America. And today we have our guest speaker who is the president of North America Vihangam Yoga, and he is none other than Vijay Kumarji. Just a small introduction about Vijay Kumarji. He and his ancestors for past few generations have been following Vihangam Yoga and has a great disciple of all the Swamiji, Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, Dharamchandra Devji Maharaj, and current Swamiji, Sadguru Swatantra Devji Maharaj. So today we are really glad Vijayji is with us, and he is going to share his understanding on Swarved. Over to you, Vijayji.
Jai Sadgurudeo. Jai Sadgurudeo ki jai. बार बार वंदन करूं सद्गुरुदेव हमार यहाँ वहाँ सब ठाम में महिमा परंपार शरण शरण में शरण हूँ हे गुरु बंदी छोर मोहि उबारो हे गुरु यह सौ बार निहोर जना अधीन वंदन करें कहीं विधि की जैसे वार पार की गम नहीं नमो नमो गुरुदेव. Swarved Wisdom. For several weeks in the past, we have been discussing various couplets from Swarved. Swarved, as the name says, the stream of knowledge through which we get the experience, the realization of Swa. Swa means the self, and Swa also means the entity which is pervading through the soul, which is like Supreme Self, and that is Supreme Almighty. So Swarved is the wisdom, is the experiential knowledge where a yogi, Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, through his own experiential journey, the knowledge, the experience that he expressed, that he experienced, he expressed it in the form of Swarved. Swarved, that is why, is the expression of the experience. It is not the compilation of the theories from various references, but this is the pure expression of the meditational experience. And the doha that we are discussing today is one live example of how a yogi experiences during meditation, what happens during meditation. This is like one of the milestones. Various other aspect of meditation is also detailed out in Swarved, which makes Swarved very unique in the way the compilation of experiences have been put together in Swarved. I request one of the volunteer to just try to read Doha and the meaning of it, and then we'll discuss about it.
जय सद्गुरुदेव। सद्गुरु युक्ति विधान से सुषमन समगति होय, सहज योग अभ्यास है सब योगन पर सोय। Meaning, the Sushmana, the most subtle energy channel which goes from the region of the heart to the secretive 10th door, starts to flow in a uniform manner in accordance with the methodology, directives, and disciplines of the Sadguru. When Sushmana transpires, its flow is always sustained within a yogi. A Hatha yogi steadies their pranas within the flow of Sushmana after practicing pranayam and kumbhak for a sustained period. It is only when Sushmana happens that the pranas are steadied, and it is only when the pranas are steadied that the consistent flow of Sushmana is sustained. This experiential method is attained through the Sadguru. With exclusive authority, the Sadguru himself enables the flow of Sushmana, termed as Sushman Pravah, and reveals his complete knowledge and power within a soul. This can only be performed by a Vihangam Yogi Sadguru. This Sahaj Yoga proceeds in an effortless manner by studying the Sushmana without the practices of prana, mudra, and kumbhak. This is why it is referred to as Sahaj Yoga. Sahaj meaning natural, effortless. Sahaj Yoga and Vihangam Yoga are synonymous. It is the one exclusive zone of yoga that in its natural form the energy of the soul ascends the Niradhar Akash, the foremost zone of a yogi, where mukti is attained. This is why, in other words, Sahaj Yoga is also referred to as Vihangam Yoga. Sorry for wrong reading. Jai Sat.
Yeah, thank you, Lalmani for reading it out for us. Why are we talking about Sushmana here? As we heard in this survey, that there is a Sadguru Yukti. Sadguru Yukti meaning the methodology, the directives, the disciplines that the Sadguru enforces upon us or take the soul through those with his grace. So through his own technique, which is Sadguru own technique, nobody else has that technique. Through Sadguru technique, the Sushmana channel is opened. When Sushmana channel opens, the prana is steadied within it only when the channel is opened by the Sadguru himself. This is Sadguru Yukti, this is Sadguru technique. Even the Hatha Yogi, they also attempt to flow their prana into Sushmana nerve. What is Sushmana? As it is explained in the first paragraph here, that Sushmana is the most subtle energy channel which starts from the heart region, or rather it goes from the heart region and passes through the 10th door. In fact, the Sushmana nerve does not stop just at the 10th door, but it passes through little beyond, and it connects to the Makartar. Why are we talking about Sushmana here? And why Hatha Yogi also attempts to flow their prana into Sushmana? The Hatha Yogi, their technique already explains this, that beyond the mind and senses, there exists an entity which you cannot perceive otherwise through your senses. Hatha Yogi also knows that the knowledge of the self, which is the conscious self, the soul that we are, the supreme being that is flowing through the soul and also through every coordinates of this creation, that supreme entity will not be revealed until we sustain our prana through the Sushmana. This is the secret, because only when the prana flows through the Sushmana, then it goes beyond and open the channel for the experience of conscious light. So this, in theory, is known to Hatha Yogi also. And so they have a technique, the forceful technique of practicing various kind of kumbhak. Kumbhak is about, holding the breath. It could be Vahya Kumbhak, meaning holding the breath after exhalation, or it could be Anta Kumbhak, which is holding the breath after inhalation. So you inhale the breath and then hold it and channelize it through wherever you want. Or you breathe out and then steady your breath so that you expand your power to stay without the motion of your breath. And the longer the Hatha Yogi can stay without moving the breath, that is the duration for which they can see some light in their experience. So the experience of light that a Hatha Yogi attempts to get is through the forceful practice of kumbhak and bandh and various mudras and pranayam, all to do what? All to be able to expand the capacity to stay breathless without moving the breath. And that too by holding the breath in that secret channel called Sushmana. When they do that by these forceful technique, they are also able to awaken the Kundalini. By these forceful technique, they are able to awaken the Kundalini. But the light that they see, unfortunately, they are still the light that is created through the friction of the prana in their Brahmand. And the conscious light of the soul is still hidden from them. And this is where the process that they're trying to attain, which is about Kundalini awakening, that is definitely one of the important milestones in our meditation journey. Only when Kundalini awakens, there happens the possibility of experience any conscious entity. Kundalini awakening is essential for entering into the zone of conscious experience. Right now, what we experience in our day-to-day life is only the matter which is created out of Parmanu, out of Prakriti, out of Maya. Whether it is visible or invisible, whether it is the light or the sound or the electricity or the magnetic field, all these that the scientists are able to connect to, gauge, measure, sense through different gadgets, which otherwise their sensory organs were not capable of. But yet, those are the part of the creation. Creation which is made of Parmanu. Creation which is made of atoms. The atoms which is very physical in nature. Even though we think that the magnetic field, the electricity, the flow of electricity, all that is hidden from our eyes, it does not mean that they are not made of atoms. The way the magnetic field works, the way the electricity works, the ingredients for making their presence is composed of atoms. And those physical atoms are what remain within the perception of our senses. But the one that pervades through, one that is a conscious light, is not composed of these physical atoms. And that is where lies the secret behind the own identity and the
Yes, Sadgurudeo Vijayji, if you
yeah.
plan to share your screen, we are not seeing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I felt so and message also, but I
No,
realized.
we are able to see the Doha and the PDF. But if you have on another screen, if you're drawing something, I think that is what Mayaji means, I guess.
No,
Right.
no, I am just on this Doha only.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry. Yeah, that reminds me that looks like we need more additional presentation beyond this, which is absolutely correct because this is such a complex topic. So as I said, that the Hatha Yogi knows that Kundalini awakening is essential. for the experience of consciousness. And they rightly know that this is possible only when the prana flows through Sushmana. This is known to Hatha Yogi, that only when the prana flows through Sushmana, then the Kundalini awakening happens. But in order to do that, they have to practice several years of Kumbhak and Bandh. And yet, after doing that, the Kundalini that awakens and the light that they see is still very physical in nature. They experience the light after Kundalini awakening, which is physical in nature, created out of the friction through prana. What Kundalini awakening truly need to lead us to, or when the Kundalini awakening serves the purpose, it serves the purpose when we get empowered to see the light of consciousness. Kundalini awakening is supposed to lead us to the experience of the consciousness. This is the goal. And this is where Sadguru Yukti is required. So no matter how hard we try through Hatha Yoga, the Hatha Yogi has the limit to reach only up to that physical light which is created through prana, because their basis of the practice is the prana and the mind. Whereas the light of consciousness is perceived, is revealed only when we submerge the prana to the source, when we dissociate from the prana, when we are no more dependent on the instruments which are tied to the experiences of the inertness. If we remain dependent on our senses, if we remain dependent on our prana, if we remain dependent on our mind, what it means is you will remain constrained within the experiences of inertness or anything which is created in this creation. So to go beyond, for example, the soul is not created. When this creation did not exist, the soul still existed. When this creation did not exist, the Supreme Being still existed. The Sadguru still existed. Sadguru is not born as a human body, and the existence does not begin when he is born as a human body. Rather, Sadguru is one separate conscious entity which exists even when the creation did not exist. The Akshar Brahm is one of the four conscious entity that exist even when the creation doesn't happen. So these conscious entities of four types, the soul, the Sadguru, soul, Sadguru, Akshar Brahm, and Supreme Being, Almighty. These conscious entities are revealed only when the soul dissociates from the physical means of experience. So soul has two karan, it's called karan or means or mode, or rather the instrument has two different channel, means or channel, you can say. Soul has two types of channel for the experience. One is called physical and the other is called conscious. The soul uses the body and the senses to experience the creation. And that is where we call that the soul is using the physical channel, the physical means. Right now, we are ignorant soul, unaware of the conscious channel, is bound to use only the physical channel, which is your senses, mind, intellect, chitta, prana, organs. These are the physical means of experience. So right now we are living in a limited experience. We are living in a limited experience because we are using the basis, the channel of experience, which is limited in nature. It can reveal only the physical creation. What we are not able to tap onto is own channel. These are borrowed channel. The physical channels are borrowed in the moment you get the body. That is borrowed. But the conscious channel is our own. Conscious channel is the soul's own channel. It is inseparable. Own channel of experience. It is inseparable. Even though it is inseparable, even though it always exists with us, we are still not able to tap onto it. Why? Because we are tied up to the physical means, the physical current. So to able to attain the conscious or awaken, not attain, rather in order to awaken our conscious channel of our own, which is also called surati or nirati. You can call it surati, and then in the later phase, it converts into nirati. Surati and nirati are our own mode of experience, our own channel of experience. Wherever our surati connects to, we get the experience of that. Even through the physical channel, it is the surati only. Ultimately, it is the surati only that flows through the physical channel, this physical channel, to connect to the 5 subjects. The physical channel that the soul is using, eventually, it is the surati only which is flowing through the physical channel and connecting to the subject for the experience. So ultimately, it is the surati that has to connect to the subject. But right now, the surati is getting constrained by the limits of physicality because it is flowing through the physical channel. It is something like you have the capacity to see all 7 colors. But what if you wear a deep blue glass over your eyes? Then what you start seeing is a bluish vision of everything. You're constraining your capacity to see beyond bluish. You have constrained yourself to see everything within the vicinity of bluishness. All you see is blue. Everything is bluish because you started wearing a bluish glass. It is exactly the same thing happening with the soul. The soul is capable to see beyond physicality, but only because our experiences are currently based upon physical means, which is the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, our sensory organs. So it can reveal only those experiences which are tappable by these physical means. Eyes can only see the visual, physical creation. Ear can only hear the physical sound. The tongue can only taste, and the nose can only smell of something which is made of earth, the Prithvi. So, going beyond these constraints is possible only when we awaken Kundalini. That is why Kundalini awakening is a great milestone in the journey of spirituality. If anybody says that I want to grow in spirituality, and if their definition of growth in spirituality is just about becoming a better human being, definitely it is a growth, but then their growth is choked. That is not the end of growth of spirituality. Becoming a good human being is the beginning of spirituality, not the end. What people think is the end of spirituality, Vihangam Yoga says that is the beginning of spirituality. And that is why it is said, where all different spiritual path culminates, ends, Vihangam Yoga begins from there. Vihangam Yoga truly begins after Kundalini awakening. And Vihangam Yoga happens not by our own effort, but only through Sadguru technique. Because the way Sadguru awakens our Kundalini and make the Sushman flow happens is his own magnetic power, which only Sadguru power has. The Sadguru power which is flowing through any human form, only that human form will have in the physical appearances. Otherwise, Sadguru in his non-physical appearances always has that power. So, for example, right now, when Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj will appear in front of anybody, he will appear with the Sadguru power. When Sadguru Swatantra Devji Maharaj, when he will either physically in person come in front of anybody or divinely, when he can compose his body and appear in front of anybody. Sadguru has the technique to disappear and appear. That is the spiritual technique of, in fact, every human soul that has 16 kala. Once we start getting those different kala through the divine blessings in the journey of meditation, one of the kala of one of the art, one of the technique or the power that each individual can have is to disappear and appear. This is definitely possible when we attain that feat in a spiritual journey. So Sadguru Swatantra Devji Maharaj, either in person or divinely appearing in front of anybody from nowhere, would appear with that Sadguru power. When Sadguru Dhamchand Devji Maharaj will appear, he will appear with that Sadguru power. Which power? Same Sadguru power. One power. There is one power which is always there when even the creation is not there. That same power is flowing through Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, through Sadguru Dhanchand Devji Maharaj, and through Sadguru Sutan Devji Maharaj. So when the Sadguru is using that power for any disciple, he is using that power only when he wishes for it. It is not that it is always functional with every disciple. It is not like that. Sadguru has to do the kripa. Sadguru has mercy on anybody and everybody. And that is why, despite all the ignorance, all the pap, the different evils, the thoughts which is corrupted within our mind, Sadguru is still keeping the disciple under his shelter. That is his mercy. He is still allowing us to grow in Vihangam Yoga or come back on the track, get back into seva, sadhana, satsang, no matter how bad a human being we become. Sadguru's door is always open because Sadguru has come here to eradicate papa from our mind. Sadguru is here to improve our persona. So Sadguru's mercy is always there, but Sadguru's kripa, the grace, has to happen, and that happens only when Sadguru wishes for it. And when Sadguru wishes for it, then he uses his special technique either through his eyes or through his speech or through the nails of his toes. With speech, with eyes, with toes, he flows his energy. And through certain special gaze through the eyes, he activates the Sushmana within ourselves. And when Sadgurudev activates Sushmana, automatically the prana is pulled into it. So instead of, unlike, that the Hatha yogi has to practice 30 years or so just to be able to, pass their prana into Sushmana. Continuous Kumbhak Bandh practice every day, and then slowly they develop the ability to flow their prana into Sushmana. But how it happens in Vihangam Yoga? When Sadguru showers his grace upon any disciple with his magnetic power, the prana is automatically pulled into Sushmana, and Sushmana happens. And when Sushmana happens, then the automatic flow of prana happens through the Sushmana. So Sadguru's technique makes this Kundalini awakening very sahaj, effortless. And that is why his yukti, his technique is also called Sahaj Yoga. So Sadguru's technique is also Sahaj, effortless. That's why it's called Sahaj Yoga. And the technique that he uses is Vihangam Yoga. But by the nature, the way it works with the disciple, it is so effortless that his technique is also called Sahaj Yoga. So Sahaj Yoga, that a true Sahaj Yoga that the Sant speaks about, is primarily the Vihangam Yoga technique of Sadguru. You can name any technique Sahaj Yoga, but it doesn't mean that that technique is a true Sahaj Yoga. The actual term Sahaj is coined by the saints in ancient time for the technique where the meditation becomes effortless by the grace of Sadguru. And so this doha, this couplet says that सहज योग अभ्यास है सब योगन पर सोई. The yoga which happens on the top of every other yoga, right? Where every other physical yoga technique ends without attaining the experience of consciousness, the Sahaj Yoga begins from there. The Vihangam Yoga begins from there, enabling the practitioner to experience the light of consciousness. And it happens only through the grace, the kripa by the Sadguru. That is why it is very important to become eligible for the grace of Sadguru. In spiritual journey, becoming eligible for the grace of Sadguru is the prime most important milestone in the life of a disciple. And how do we become eligible for the grace of Sadguru? We become eligible when we please Sadguru with our seva bhav. We are doing our satsang, we are doing our sadhana, but Sadguru will be pleased with seva bhav. How surrendered we are for the cause of Sadguru. Why is that? The different core members, the volunteers of Vihangam Yoga is putting their toilsome effort towards spreading the technique of Vihangam Yoga. The technique which is so dense, it not only talks about controlling mind and giving day-to-day benefit, but the technique which talks about self-realization and eventually God realization. It talks about liberation, the ultimate technique of devotion. Sometimes it goes beyond the tangible, intellect of a human being. And that's how it is. The highest stages of Vihangam Yoga is something that only when it happens to you, it is only then you appreciate what is the ocean of knowledge that Vihangam Yoga offers. But despite it being so dense, despite the people not yet ready to take this knowledge, the core members of Vihangam Yoga put toilsome effort to spread this technique so that at least people start making the benefit out of the initial phases of Vihangam Yoga. The first stage of Vihangam Yoga, which anyway begins with controlling the mind, after which your day-to-day life improves. At least people should begin with that. But the main goal of Vihangam Yoga disciples, in order to spread this technique, is not about getting others into this journey. Rather, it is more about using the opportunity to purify our own self, becoming more eligible for Sadguru's grace. And that is why it doesn't matter whether there is a result, a fruitful result or not. A true sevak of Sadguru continues their effort, their seva, in spreading the technique of Vihangam Yoga. Because Sadguru is utterly pleased with this very effort of a sevak. A sevak who is spreading the technique of Vihangam Yoga to others. This is the bullet train of reaching to the grace of Sadguru. Whichever is the fastest train, it is none other than giving ourselves in spreading the technique of Vihangam Yoga. So with this, I would like to conclude my expression here, but in a nutshell, Swarved, those who read Swarved, they know that Swarved begins with talking about different 6 types of entities and then slowly build upon different aspect of those entities. And so it doesn't stop just about talking about the yoga abhyas, the initial phases of meditational journey, but it touches upon various other elements which are the matter of experience in the deeper aspect of meditation. So Vihangam Yoga, so Swarved, that's why is called encyclopedia of spirituality. And I request everyone who is a deep seeker of spirituality, they must have this book. I'm very impressed with the request that Mukesh ji had. Just in few days he ordered Swarved. We delivered Swarved to him. Hopefully it will reach early next week to him. We need such intense desire to grow in spirituality, and Swarved is definitely going to help a lot for those seekers who are truly trying to understand the entire encyclopedia of spirituality in theory. It is important to understand the entire aspect in theory also, because only when you understand correctly in theory, then you will have the balance, or what do you call that, the gauge through which you can measure what is right, what is not right, what is truly in alignment with the spiritual journey, and what is not, so that you can save your time, you can utilize your time fruitfully in the practice which truly falls in the line of spiritual journey. So with this request that every one of us should have Swarved, every one of us should read Swarved before meditation. When you read Swarved before meditation, Swarved talks about only spiritual elements. So only thing that will run in your mind is spiritual. And when your mind becomes spiritual, your meditation becomes smooth. And that's why reading Swarved before meditation is also recommended by Sadguru. So every one of us should have Swarved. Jai Sadguru.
Thank you so much, Vijayji, for the beautiful explanation. Thanks a lot. And now I would like to invite our audience, if they have any question related to this particular Doha, please feel free to come forward and ask questions. And also, if anyone has joined the session for the first time, they can come forward and share their name, location, and how did they come to know about the session. Please feel free to come forward and share your information.
Jai Sadgurudeo. My question is, I forgot what is chitta mean. I'm sorry. I just want to know what is chitta.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. So we have 4 inner organs in our body. Mind, we all know, this is a loose translation of, actually it is man, because today we call mind in a bigger aspect of everything together. But actually it is man, one of the inner organs. I'll write it as man so that we have clear differentiation between man, buddhi, chitta, and aham. These are the 4 inner organs. These are, you can say, the managers of our organs of the body, our organs of actions and sensory organs. They will work only when these inner organs are functional. If these inner organs are not functional, then our outer organs will also be idle. It will not know what to do. So these are the governing forces. The inner organs is what drives our outer organs. Now, one of the inner organ is chitta. So what does chitta do? Chitta is a snapper. It is like a video camera. Chitta is like a video camera. So I'm not talking about Chetan. Chetan is different thing. That is consciousness. I'm talking about Chitta. Chitta word is used for both. Chit also means consciousness. Chit also means conscious. But here we are talking about the Chitta, which is the physical inner organ. It is something which is made of earthly matter. It is developed when the soul acquires the subtle body. So it is developed. It is not something which is pre-existing. It is developed when the sukshma body, the subtle body is formed. That time the chitta is also created. Whereas the chit, the chetan, the consciousness is something which is never created. So there is a difference between chetan or the consciousness and the chitta. Chitta is created out of prakriti, out of the atoms of the prakriti. And it is created when the subtle body is first created for the soul. One of the 19 element is chitta. And this chitta constantly keep the snapshot of every moment of our life. Just like you take the screenshot of your screen, the chitta is constantly taking the snapshot of your experience. Whatever the computer presents to you, you can take a snapshot. Similarly, whatever your senses can present to you, the chitta is taking the snapshot of it. Right? So that means chitta not only is taking the snapshot, it is preserving that snapshot within itself. So chitta is not only a recorder, but it is also a repository. The recorder and repository. So it's a live videographer. It's a live videographer, which is constantly taking the snapshot of your life. And that is why there will be certain subjects which is not running into your mind right now, but when the appropriate occasion happens, some related things happens in our life, suddenly we start recalling the other past set of events which was related to it. Where are they coming from? They are all coming from chitta, because chitta is preserving the snapshot of your life. So I hope that brief description is hopefully enough for you to develop a little understanding about it.
Thank you so much, Ji. Well explained.
Thank you.
Jai Sadgurudeo, Vijayji. Thank you for beautiful explanation of the Sushumna Prabha, and also we had a good session yesterday. When the prana is steadied through the for Hatha yogis by practicing the Hatha yoga, and in case of Vihangam Yoga through the blessing of the Sadguru, what is the connectivity with the steadying of the mind? If you could just create some distinction between steadying the prana for Sushumna Prabha versus the mind, how connected, or how does that in relationship over. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Just like when a river flows, not only the water flows with the stream of the river, but it takes along all various species or the dead woods that is floating in the stream of the river. Similarly, our mind also is one that flows with the surati, because it is holding on to our surati. The mind is active, the man is active as long as it holds the surati of the soul, because surati is the life of mind, the man. Man otherwise is idle. So in the technique of Vihangam Yoga, what we are doing it, even in the first stage, we are concentrating our surati onto the focal point. And how are we concentrating our surati? By using our eyes. Wherever our eyes flows, our eyes goes, our mind goes there. And when we put our eyes together at our focal point, the mind is taking our surati onto that focal point. Because wherever mind goes, our surati also goes there. Because mind has snatched the surati. But what Sadguru does it, Sadguru does not work on our mind directly, but he works directly on our surati itself. Sadguru energy changes the stream of surati itself from outward to inward. And as the stream of river changes direction, everything will change direction along with it. Anything which is floating in it, mind or the man cannot remain active without surati. So when the surati starts drifting from outward to inward, the mind also automatically start getting pulled along with it. So in Sadguru Yukti, in Sadguru technique, when the Sadguru is applying his attraction, force of attraction, that attraction force works on various component of a human body. Swamiji says, Sir, Pran, Chetan, Hriday, खींचे भाव शुभ लक्षण मिले महापत सुषमन खुले गति कंप दोनों तन हिले. So what are the places where the Sadguru's attraction works? It works on your head, sir. Sir means head. So your head will start experiencing a pulling force, as if somebody is pulling it upward. What is the second one? The pran. Sir, pran. The force of attraction also works on prana. What is the third one? The chetan. Again here, just to clarify, it is not chitta, it is chetan. This time it is chetan. Sir, pran, chetan, hriday. Your heart will also feel a pulling force. Why in the heart region? Because the soul is there. The soul, the source of our consciousness is actually in the heart region only. So the pulling force is experienced in the region of head, in the region of heart, in our breathing, because the prana itself is getting pulled, and in consciousness, in surati. Our surati is getting pulled. So when surati is getting pulled, then the mind automatically goes along with it. And when mind goes along with it, it automatically dissociates from the outer experiential subjects. because now the Suruti has turned the direction. When the Suruti has turned the direction, then all the outer experiences are disconnected, detached. So mind is automatically in moving towards steadiness. Automatically moving towards steadiness. Mind is unsteady only when our Suruti is connecting to various outer subjects. But when the Suruti itself is captured by the Sadguru and flown inward, then mind is actually very helpless. Though we think that mind is more powerful, but mind cannot do anything without the power of Suruti. Without the power of Suruti, mind is dead. Like when we go to deep sleep, the man dissociates from Suruti. And that's why man is not capable to show us anything when we are in the deep sleep. Mind is inert at that point of time, just like dead wood. So man is helpless wherever the prana. What is the prana of man? The prana of man is Suruti. Without Suruti, the man will not be live. So when Sadguru pulls the Suruti itself, then the man goes along with it. And so in the process of Vihangam Yukti, in the process of Sahaj Yoga Yukti, the mind, the prana, and the Chetana, the Suruti of the soul, these three go in the Sushmana nerve. And when they go inward, they are not yet, I will not say that our entire consciousness stays inside throughout the period. Rather, in this process of getting inward, though Sadguru is pulling us inward, it takes time to yet reach to a stage where the kripa fully works upon us and the Kundalini awakens. Prior to that, there'll be always inward, outward, there'll be oscillation. So in the initial phases of meditational journey, when the pulling force starts working upon us, you will experience things from outside as well, whereas you will experience the pulling force working upon you. So you'll have the pulling force working upon you, yet you'll be oscillating between outside and inside, outside and inside. And that's why there'll be a kriya in your prana, because prana is not steadied. Prana is not steadied because you are moving your Suruti outward, inward, outward, inward. You are losing the grip of the force, the attraction force, and getting into the grip of attraction force. But as we purify our bhav, our devotion towards Sadguru, more intense the pulling force works. Utkata Shraddha Guru Charan. Only when we develop undividable devotion towards Sadguru, it is only then it works 100%. And then it becomes very sahaj, very smooth, and very fast, very rapid. But before we develop that unflinching devotion towards Sadguru, this oscillation will continue. You'll have kriya, you'll have vibrations, but it will not get into steadiness till the utkat shraddha, the devotion, strengthens within ourselves for Sadguru. And that's why in the journey of spirituality, the devotion towards Sadguru is also very important. That is the first ladder before devotion towards Almighty. Only when we develop deep devotion towards Sadguru first, considering Sadguru himself as Almighty, because otherwise there'll be always conflict within ourselves. Only when we start considering Sadguru as Almighty himself, then we'll have undivided devotion for him. And when we have undivided devotion for him, then our spiritual journey in meditation will leap into advanced stage. For that, it is important to have that element that is the prime ingredient for the Kundalini awakening. So we have to have that ingredient. And so when we have that ingredient, then this happens very smoothly, yet the mind will be in motion. The flow will happen. It will be steady, it will be streamlined. There'll be no turbulence in the mind, but the mind is still in motion. When does it become completely steadied? When it flows, when the Kundalini transpires, when the Sushmana transpires, meaning when the energy flows beyond 10th door. When the Sushmana happens, this is the beginning of the transpiration of Sushmana. Sushmana happens and then Sushmana transpires. These are the two different stages. When Sushmana happens, meaning Sushmana has become active. But when Sushmana transpires, it means that the energy, the surati, the mind, the prana, they have gone beyond, they have started flowing beyond 10th door. And when it goes beyond 10th door, then the Navam chakra, the 9th chakra, is what is, connected with our surati, and that is where the mind or the man is submerged for getting the complete steadiness of it. So this is the fourth stage of Vihangam Yoga, the fourth stage. So the complete steadiness of mind happens in the fourth stage. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, thank you, Vijayji. I think every time we discuss the Doha, and it just reinforces the this is a very subtle science, and it's very much and I don't know if there is a little more time or not, but I just wanted to quickly share that yesterday when we were doing the sadhana under Pushpendraji, one sadhak joined, and he was very curious, and he did mention that he has been doing the Pratham Bhumi sadhan for a couple of years. And then I asked him, like, how did you, because he joined Vihangam Yoga like just a few months ago. So how did you do that? And he said that because he read Bhagavad Gita, and it is mentioned in one of the chapters, which is 6th chapter, and then he started doing that. And so I kind of got curious that how effective will that be if and then I asked him, like, were you doing under guidance of a guru? And he was not clear about that. It was like doing he was just following what was written on Bhagavad Gita. So would you have some comment on when a sadhak does follows that level of meditation but without under the guidance of a sadguru? Is that
no, of course it builds the sanskar, at least, that they become interested or inclined towards such journey. Only when such persons are doing meditation on their own, at least they have inclination or the intense inclination towards meditation. That definitely is good. But if one continues too deep on their own, and if they start, for example, when people read Bhagavad Gita, and when it talks about in the 6th chapter, 13th shloka, when it talks about samam kai shirogyam dharin chalam isra samprekshanasika graswa dishashanavlokyan, when it says this in Bhagavad Gita, many people have also mistranslated it, and they start doing their focus between the eyebrows. Now, when they do between the eyebrows, and let's say there's nobody to guide, Swamiji has said in one of his Vani, in Amritvani, that if the person is concentrating with the eyes rolling upward, looking between the eyebrows, without the proper guidance, then it may also create the madness within themselves. He will become crazy, mad. He will lose the control on his senses. So definitely it is risky also, where you are concentrating and how you're concentrating. In Vihangam Yoga, second stage, when Vihangam Yogi goes to the second stage of Vihangam Yoga, though it is falling in the same region, but it is little deeper and it is under the light of Sadguru. So that becomes a different story. You are always under the shelter of Sadguru light when we do that. But without Guru, looking at different locations, some of the location where you concentrate can become risky also. It can just lose the wire that makes you sane. You become insane actually. When I say mad, it simply means you'll become insane. You'll start behaving like pagal admi, it's like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijayji, for the clarification. I think that totally makes sense, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Jai Sadgurudeo. Some thoughts are coming. I'm so sorry, time is running out. And discussion is very, very interesting. Dipti ji, Vijay ji, if you allow a few minutes for me to speak, please.
Ji, sure, Maya ji, since we are running out of time, but you can take a couple of minutes to share your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jai Sadgurudeo Niranjan ji, your question is beautiful, very practical. And if the person is following Bhagavad Gita, there is further explanation that how Guru is important and doing the yoga with the Guru's guidance is important. So if he really follows, and that's where he was guided to a Guru. That's how I take it. Also in Vihangam Yoga, you would have heard, I'm not sure, Vanmala Devi ji from Gujarat. She was a keen reader of Bhagavad Gita since childhood. In fact, to read the Vedas and Upanishads, she took Sanskrit language at that time in 70s. Whereas people were taking different English and all, whatever was boom. But since she needed to read Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, she took Sanskrit. And in Vihangam Yoga, she is the only one has complete remembrance of complete Bhagavad Gita to the point. But she had been reading and she was practicing for this very technique. She used to spend time with Rishi, Maharshis, whoever comes, sons, and would discuss Bhagavad Gita knowledge. And then she learned that the Guru is needed for further journey in the spirituality. She built some questions out of curiosity reading Bhagavad Gita. And she had that 3 conditions to have a Guru. She would only consider a Guru who could answer her question. So Bhagavad Gita is a light, not just like surface when we read. And if we really are seeking a spiritual knowledge, it will guide you. So that's where many people would say, hey, you give 500 rupees, we'll give knowledge. So how come this is getting God, achieving God needs money? If money is needed, then anyone could buy. No, this is not my Guru. She had some criteria. Eventually, those 3 questions, it's a long story, but short, she posted those questions and Sadgurudeo answered, and she had been practicing within a month or 2. She was guided into further next level. That's the thing. And a quick question, hope it helped you further, Niranjan ji.
Ji, thank you so much, Maya ji. Absolutely. I mean, anything that is discussed in this forum, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Vihangam Yoga, is that it's a full package, right? You seva, satsang, sadhana, and it's like all these questions that. So I basically directed those people to please join this session, even though it's a Eastern time zone. But waking up earlier, I mean, it's not a bad deal. I mean, for something like this, because all of these kind of practical questions can be answered, and that's a beauty, right? And
Ji, thank you.
and
Your questions always enlighten us.
yeah, and one
And
of the
another,
yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, quick question to Vijayji. I know the time is running short, but I'm like very curious when Chitralekha ji posted her question about Chitta. Suddenly, the curiosity came to me that, Chitta is related to memory. So, is it possible a person could stay without Chitta in any stage? What if person has memory loss? Is the Chitta gone, or is it a channel to the Chitta is broken? That kind of question started coming to me. If time permits, Vijayji, otherwise I'll connect with you offline. A few words also fine. Thank you. Jai Sadgurudeo.
Yes, Uday. See, definitely we are, functioning in this day-to-day life by being dependent on the nervous system and the inner organs, the outer organs. This whole body is functioning with a lot of coordination with each other. So if any of the channel is broken, then the despite the memories are already there within chitta, despite all those things which has happened in our life is definitely there. It is not wiped away. It is actually there in chitta. It is just that it is not able to pass through our brain and nervous system and eventually reflected in our speech and what to say, basically when you want to memorize something, for example, when you want to memorize something, there is a software and hardware, both have to work in coherence. It is only then the things will be reflected in your expression. Otherwise, even if, let's say, mind, which being the part of the software of your body, is functional, but if the hardware is broken, then it will not be reflected, as an expression to you. So same thing is there. The chitta is there. That's the software part. It is there. But the hardware gadget of the body, if some part of the brain, let's say, become malfunctional, then the necessary signals and the electricity that has to flow for entire being to work is broken. And because of that, you will find that certain emotions are not reflected, or if somebody is too occupied with only one kind of thought, because of which he's becoming crazy, what happens is repeatedly is recalling the same thing from the chitta, and because of that being so overimposing on him, he will not be able to recall anything else. So different ways, different mechanism it is into play when somebody is in the memory loss. But eventually, in a nutshell, we can understand this, that nothing is wiped out of our chitta. Chitta still sustain every element of our life, even when they are the um, in the phase where they are living a different identity. Let's say they have forgotten their prior identity and they started living as a different personality in a different identity. Even then the chitta is capturing the same way, the way it was capturing in his previous identity. And the moment he will recall his all prior experiences, prior identity, it doesn't mean that he will lose the experiences that he had in this second identity. Rather, it is the same repository, the central repository called Chitta, which had captured his prior identity and is continuing to capture his second identity, even in the phases of memory loss. And when the memory when it revives, then the Chitta will be capable to present both experiences, the old as well as new. So at the time when people have started living the life of a memory loss, At that point of time, it's not that the chitta is not functioning or has wiped all its prior impressions. It is just that all the prior impressions has gone into idle mode. It is not awakened. The Brithis is actually the fundamental record of every snapshot. So every snapshot of life, you can call it a Brithi, Chitta Brithi, right? And those Brithis are in 5 different stages. They are in 5 different stages, and one of the stages being idle. Even now also, there are many things in our life that has happened and is there in our chitta, but we are not able to recall it. It is same as memory loss. If right now, if I ask you even, okay, 3 days ago, what was the food that you ate, maybe you'll not be able to recall correctly. And similarly, if I ask you something from your childhood, you will be able to recall. How is that so? That something that happened 3 days ago, I'm not able to recall, whereas something that happened in my childhood, I'm able to recall it. This happens because our surati, our consciousness, is what drives our memory. If our consciousness is containing that memory within itself, so consciousness is what sustain our experiences live. So anything which you're containing live and you have not archived it. So chitta is like archiving it, but consciousness is like keeping it live within your memory. So one that you're keeping in your consciousness, and how you keep it by repeatedly kind of, remembering it. When you repeatedly remember it, meaning you're keeping it conscious. You're always conscious about that memory. It is not that the certain thing in the past is easily retrievable by you, all because it is always there in your consciousness. It is not also like that, but because you have attached that particular memory with your joy, with your happiness, in such a way that repeatedly you have been recalling that. Every moment something similar happens, that prior memory, your childhood memory, that you revise it, and because you revise it, it remains in your consciousness, knowingly or unknowingly. And that's how something is there in your memory and something is not. It doesn't mean that the chitta has wiped those away. No, they are always there. It is just that even in our day-to-day life, if they are dormant, we won't be able to recall it. And in case of medically challenged condition where there's a memory loss because certain part of the brain is impacted, that is like breaking the hardware part of it, because of which certain emotions are not reflected in our chemistry. And that's why related subjects, even though it rises, it does not reflect, because the entire hardware component doesn't support it. It's like that.
Thank you so much, Vijayji. So chitta always remains with soul. After mind dissolve, also with the sukshmaman, it is there. Right?
Yeah, so chitta is always there, but the chitta is non-functional if you're not making use of the mind.
Right.
Chitta cannot function on its own. It requires to be awakened by the mind, and mind awakens it by passing the surati into it. Surati eventually is the prana of all these inner organs, and mind is the carrier. It carries surati to these other inner organs. Even the intellect, our intellect doesn't function until we pay attention to it through our mind. Only when we sit and want to think, then the intellect works. And the moment the wanting comes, that means you're putting your surati, your mind and Surati with the intellect. When you put your mind and Surati with the intellect, then the intellect awakens and it functions. Otherwise, intellect is an inert entity. Chitta is an inert entity. These are not functional on its own. Only when the mind activates it, it functions. It's like that.
Thank you so much, Vijayji. It answers all my questions. Thank you.
Where is the Vivek in the four inner organs, Vijayji?
Niranjan ji, I would like to apologize. It's already 12 o'clock. So if you are okay and Vijay ji okay, we can take your question next week. I really apologize for that. So are you okay with that if you are going to take your question next week, Vijay ji? So what's your thought?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's already getting late. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now let's move forward to the next section. I would like to take a moment to recognize warriors of the week. We all know that the best time to meditate is Brahma Muhurat between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. But most of us are unable to take advantage of this time. To encourage all of us, NAIVY has started a WhatsApp group called Brahma Muhurat Warrior. Goal for participation is to practice Brahma Muhurat meditation on their own and report status on the group by sending done as a message on the group. There is no session to join. If you are interested in joining the group, please let us know and we'll send you the link. It's time to congratulate Warrior of the Week, and this week's warriors are Bhagwati Patel ji, Radha ji, Prachi Shirsagar ji, Srirang ji, Shurya Alamraju ji, Tejinder ji, and Yogesh Shirsagar ji. Congratulations to all of you and thanks for encouraging us. And inductees of the week are the ones who are able to at least meditate once in the past week. And they are Amit Talekar ji, Lalmani ji, Sriram Sahu ji, Vijay Davalari ji, and Tanuja ji. Congratulations to all of you too. We have now reached the last page of today's satsang. In this page, we chant a short version of Vandana, Aarti and Shanti Path. Vandana is the prayer through which we seek blessings of the Sadguru. We request well-being, health, wealth, and seek his blessings for spiritual knowledge. I would now request Devji to sing the last 4 lines of Vandana. Over to you, Devji.
Vandana. Prabhu Kalpa Santa Samaj Uttam Sarva Dharma Acharya Hai Jimi Nadia Srita Sindhu Ki Hai Vishva Pathamaya Kaya Hai Prabhu Sacha Santa Samaj Tira Aparaksha Kijiye Jana Sadafala Jana Bhakti Pridi Dina Dina Kijiye.
Thank you so much, Devji. Our next prayer is Aarti. Here we acknowledge the power of Almighty and pray that all disciples experience eternal joy, love, and freedom from worries under his holy guidance. I request everybody to stand up for Aarti. And again, I would like to request Devji to sing the last 4 lines of Aarti. Over to you.
Arti. Guru De Jaguru Deva Hare Sadguru Deva Hare Shisha Janana Ki Sanshe Kasana Me Dura Kere Joshana Mai Me Awe Satapata Pawe Mohimite Jivaka Sukashante We Pawe Dukahade Mite Jagaka Guru Marati Gati Kandrama Sevaka Nayana Chakor Poleka Poleka Nirakata Rahe Guru Marati Kior Shweta Shweta Maya Shweta He Shweta Shweta Maya Shweta Tida Pada Amriti Bara Shweta Muhammad Shweta Ashtachakra Sabasunya Para Dad Hadar Kipa Tahasada Falagarakia Ulipada Sansar.
Thanks a lot, Devji. I would request everyone to sit down for Shanti part. In the Shanti part, we chant for the peace for everyone in this universe. May Sadgurudeo bless this entire cosmos with peace, love, and prosperity. I would now again request Devji to sing the last 4 lines of Shanti part for us.
Hey Prabhu Shanti Sarupa Ho Shanti Shanti Maya Shanti 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 Jana Shanti Ho Purna Shanti Maya Shanti Hey Prabhu Shanti Pradana Duraho Sarva Shanti Deva Sadafala Shanti Maya Shanti Shanti Sukha Shanti.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank all of you for joining us and make the satsang successful. I encourage everybody to ponder upon the topic what we discussed today. So special thanks to Chitralekha ji, Niranjan Kumar ji, and Maya ji, Dev ji, and again Vijay Kumar ji for their active participation. I pray to the Sadguru to have peaceful and spiritual week ahead of us. See you all next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. EST on the same Zoom session. Have a wonderful day ahead and Jai Sadgurudeo.